Remembered her bringing her dog before, and she was here with New Hampshire Pet Safe. But today we're going to be talking about Starting Point. So, Anita, why don't you go ahead and just tell our viewers what is Starting Point for those of us who have not heard of the organization?
Sure, absolutely. Starting Point is an agency that supports the victim of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and stalking.
Okay.
And primarily, that is the work that we do.
Okay, and why don't you go ahead and tell us how you got involved in this organization?
That's actually an interesting story. I think it was probably even 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even closer to 10. I used to have a business that was in the same building as Starting Point,
okay.
And Starting Point, the then director said to me, I know that you love dogs. Do you think you might be able to help us take care of a dog who's involved with a family that's coming into the shelter?
Wow.
And I said yes, and I looked out my window one day and I saw a family coming in, a woman with her children, and I saw this beautiful dog just sitting on a bench. She just left him on the bench, and he just sat there very perfectly.
Wow.
And they then came in, and I took the family was living in a tent in the woods because they didn't want to give up this dog, this wonderful dog. So I took the dog for 6 months so that they could go into the shelter.
Oh, how wonderful. That is a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And so that made you interested about the shelter?
It did. It opened my eyes to the situation, and the family came every week to take the dog, to visit the dog in my office.
Right.
And when they got back on their feet after they left the shelter, they got the dog back. I cried my eyes out when the dog left. We love the dog. And the woman involved emailed me every single year to thank me for doing that and to tell me how much that meant to her and the children.
How wonderful.
So that was my introduction to Starting
Point. That's a great
Point.
story to just even let our viewers know the kinds of things that Starting Point does. Sounds like they really want to take care of their people.
Right.
And on that note, you were talking to me a little bit about how they are involved with support provided to children. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I think that's probably one thing that the community isn't as aware of as the other work that we do, because when there are women involved who are the victims of domestic violence or the stalking or sexual violence, there are very often children involved in the situation. And our shelter, we have a shelter in a community, and that provides a safe haven not only for the women but for their children. So on any given day, you may see little children at the shelter who are there and who have been given safe haven along with their mom usually.
Yeah. Now, I know we just had it up on the screen. We have the website for Starting Point, startingpointnh.org, if you're looking for more information about Starting Point, as well as right there on the screen right now is the 24-hour crisis line. It's 800-336-3795. If you need to call Starting Point, if you're experiencing domestic violence, sexual violence, or stalking, they definitely want you to call. You're not alone, and definitely call that number. If you're interested in volunteering as well, we have a number on the screen. We're going to put it there in just a moment with the website. Let's see. It's not there right now, but it was there earlier, and we'll get it back up there for sure, that number to volunteer. So what kinds of things would people expect if they called and they're interested in volunteering? What kinds of things could they do with the
Well, I know that volunteers are needed to help man the hotline. There's a whole training program that's provided to acquaint people with the issues. So they would go through the training and get involved. And we have a very strong core of about 30 volunteers who have been with us for a long time and provide a huge help to the organization.
Wow.
So there's always people there to help.
That's a lot more than I would have even expected.
Right.
So the organization is even a lot bigger than people probably even think.
We have 5 employees, but again, the volunteers are just a really critical part of our services. And it's really the community stepping forward and say, we want to protect these people and help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Anita, do you want to talk a little bit about the board of directors?
Sure. We have a fantastic board of directors. There are right now 10 people on the board. We've just brought on 2 new folks. It's a very committed board. It's a strong board. Dot Siebold just stepped down as our chair, and she's still an integral part of the organization. So I would say that every single person on the board is really engaged and committed, and we're really proud of the work that we're doing.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like It's just a really important thing here in the community, and we're very thankful that you guys are doing this work in the community. It's very needed as well. So again, if you're interested in volunteering, or if you need to step out and get some help from Starting Point, you can go to startingpointnh.org. And the 24-hour crisis hotline, again, is 800-336-3795. And you can call that if you are in a crisis and need help from Starting Point. Anita, anything else that you want to let our viewers know about
Well,
today?
just to let people know that our services aren't limited to women. If you know of a situation of elder abuse, there are sometimes men in situations that we describe.
Right.
So even if you're not in that situation yourself, if you know of somebody who you feel may be in jeopardy, please feel free to call our hotline or call our office, and there is help available.
Great. I know one other quick thing you wanted to talk about was a new project that you guys have coming
Right,
up.
absolutely. Yeah, we were very pleased that one of our donors, who wishes to remain anonymous, has provided funding for transitional housing for the victims of domestic violence and abuse. So what this would mean is that once, and this will be for families, once a family comes out of the shelter, this will help them through housing for 2 years after they come out of
Wow.
shelter, which is often a critical time, because often coming out of shelter, the family may not have money for a security deposit and rent.
Right.
And this is a great program, so they'll be able to really get on their feet and move forward. So it's an
Yeah.
additional 2 years. So
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, we're really grateful to the donor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Anita, for being here, and thank you for letting us know about Starting Point. And thank you guys for listening.